Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we get a bit of a double feature as I'm testing out two Pokemon that received big updates in the Season 24 Balance Patch for Go Battle League. The first one, as the title and thumbnail state, is Fearow. Fearow got access to Drill Peck this season, which is an unbelievably efficient move, and its fast move Peck is now a Shadow Claw clone. This makes Fearow an interesting anti-meta save swap, being able to lure out problematic Pokemon for flyers and hit them for super effective with Drill Run. And as a closer, we're using Shadow Charizard, but I built a new Shadow Shiny Charizard to test out Ember. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's take a look at the team in action. We're off to a great start in game number 1, leading Stunfisk into Empoleon. They save switch Wigglytuff and I respond with the Shadow Shiny Ember Charizard. I really wanted to test both movesets, but I really didn't want to TM off Dragon Breath, so I just built a new Charizard. This Charizard has pretty bad IVs, but it's Shadow Shiny, so to me, it felt it was worth the build. They're going to bring back in Empoleon, and Empoleon's not going to have a fun time against the Ember Charizard. We make it to a second Blast Burn, they try for a Farm Down, and I get to a third Blast Burn as well. The pacing on Charizard, you don't have the fast move pressure, but you really have the pacing. I'm going to bring in Stunfisk, and I'm going to fully sacrifice this Stunfisk to set up Fearow with a shield to take home this win. They'll outpace, I'm never going to shield, and now win or lose, my fate is in the hands of Fearow. In comes Fearow, it's only 10 turns to get to Drill Peck. They have a bit of residual energy, so they are able to outpace. I'm going to shield and overfarm massively. They pivot out in the back. They have Shadow Kanto Marowak, and Fearow will be able to take home this win. Fearow has a very high attack stat. It's going to win CMP over Marowak by a massive amount. So I overfarm, cap tie them as they make the rock slide, and now I have enough residual energy to make a drill run into Empoleon. Empoleon just does not have the energy needed. We get the drill run, down goes Empoleon, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a very good lead, Stunfisk into Charjabug. Charjabug gonna stay in this matchup to start with, so I may as well fire off the Mud Bomb and look to get a bit of chip damage, as this is not a fun Pokemon for my backline to see. They save switch into a Bullet Seed Credilli, and oh my goodness, this team is very weak to a Bullet Seed Credilli. I shield up the Rock Tomb as it would easily one-shot the Charizard, and now I get to return fire with a debuff but still hard-hitting Blast Burn. Blast Burn does get shielded, and now I see my opponent's play. They want to try and get my shields down and then combo play me with the discharge that they saved on the Charjabug. So I'm going to have to make a read. I full send the Blast Burn lands, I switch into the Stunfisk, and I predict their snipe attempt, catching the discharge onto the Stunfisk, where it's going to be triple resisted. My opponent is now switch locked in this matchup. We wasted their energy, and importantly, I saved that Charizard for later in the game. Charizard does have a little bit of residual energy on it as well. Mud Bomb is going to land, picking up the knockout, back in comes the Credilli. Here, I will look to overfarm quite significantly with the Stunfisk, as I would love to try and catch a Grass Knot, if possible, onto one of my back Mons. So I switch into the Fearow, and we get the catch onto that Fearow of the Grass Knot. And wow, we have been on point this game. In the back is going to be Dugong, but Dugong is really not a fan of Drill Peck. Drill Peck adds up a lot neutrally, so Dugong can survive it, but not super well. Dugong will be able to hang on here to the second Drill Peck, but they are going to be deep into the red health. I'm going to send out Charizard because I know that I get KO'd by a Rock Tomb anyway, so I may as well absorb the damage onto Charizard if one move's going to knock out regardless. I send in the Stunfisk because I know I'm not in Grass Knot range, snipe down, and now I have a Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb lands onto Credilli, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. We've got a mirror lead in the next match, Stunfisk versus Stunfisk. Now, obviously, Stunfisk would be an absolute nightmare for my back Pokemon to see. I need to work to get this Pokemon as low as possible, so then my Flyers should be able to have incredible play in the back. I'm able to land the first Mud Bomb, they're going to fire off their Mud Bomb as well, and my opponent is intentionally avoiding the CMP tie, so I do not know if I win it. Although considering my stats, I probably do not win Charge Attack Priority. But still, I'm going to go for the Mud Bomb as soon as I get it. I go for the Mud Bomb, they switch, and make a very nice catch onto Togekiss. Now this wastes my energy. It's a nice catch from my opponent. However, the downside to this catch for my opponent is the fact that I'm now on my 4 cycle. So I can outpace, fire off the discharge, get a shield, and then send out Fearow. Fearow is farming up, opponent builds up to the back-to-back Aura Spheres just to lose Charge Attack Priority. Drill Peck gets no shielded. They hoped they could survive, but Fearow hits too hard. They do not survive. And now back in comes the Stunfisk. Stunfisk will go for the discharge. Fearow can hang on. Fearow gets to the drill run. Opponent is going to switch and make a catch of the drill run onto Hypno. It's a Shadow Hypno at that. And now I can just bring in the Shadow Charizard and spam out Air Cutters. Air Cutter is not even a particularly strong attack, but Charizard just has such a high attack stat that even an Air Cutter would be threatening. I make it to Air Cutter number 2 onto the Hypno. We get the boost as we Ember down. In comes Stunfisk. That gets Ember down as well, and we're able to secure that win. Picking up a bit of a tricky lead in the next match, leading Stunfisk into Galarian Corsola. Galarian Corsola, I would love to try and catch a Nightshade onto Fearow, as Fearow does have the normal subtyping, but unfortunately they have too much energy for me to make this catch. They're always going to be throwing 1 in the move here, as this is when they get to 100 energy, but a catch doesn't really help me if I have to immediately shield a Power Gem. So instead, I'm just going to stay in. My opponent actually needed to undertap there, because since they don't undertap, they don't get the move, as Mud Bomb actually knocks out. In comes, unfortunately for me, another Credilli. I send in Fearow, and they pivot out, and in the back is Jirachi. I'm full send in the drill run, no baits here. That's gonna land onto Jirachi, and that just ends the game on the spot. Jirachi, Doom Desire, massive damage to Fearow. There, I intentionally only throw 1 peck to ensure that I can get a small energy head start on the Charizard. This is Shadow on Shadow, so if I land this Air Cutter, I can probably just Ember down. They have to shield because they want to apply debuffs. But now, I can just go straight Blast Burn and win the game because they ended up shielding an Air Cutter. So I shield up the Rock Tomb, and I just never have a reason to bait. The only way my opponent gets back into this game now is if I bait. So I just full send Blast Burn, even at -1, that's going to pick up the knockout, and we secure the win. Great lead in the next match, Stunfisk into Shadow Gyarados. Gyarados staying in this matchup, so it appears they don't have a terrific answer to Stunfisk in the back. They're probably ABA weak. Aquatail does do a lot of damage. They save switch into Gastrodon, and now I get to respond with Fearow. Fearow will go straight for the Drill Peck, but Gastrodon does have pretty nice bulk, so Gastrodon can hang on. Even if they do go for the Water Pulse, I can survive, so I'm always going to be no shielding. Water Pulse does do a sizable amount of damage, but I can survive it. I try and go for the CMP tie there, but this is not when they get their move. It's still 9 Mud Slaps to a double up. In comes Shadow Gyarados. Gyarados does get the farm down, but I'll get that ever important first shield with this discharge from Stunfisk. So Stunfisk is able to get that shield, but I can't get shield number 2 as they're going to fire off their Aqua Tail right before I get there. It's a tough matchup for my opponent, but they're genuinely playing very well. In moments like these, I do wish I had Dragon Breath, as if I had Dragon Breath, I could have farmed it down already. They grab a shield with Aqua Tail, and they have their own Fearow in the back. Oh my goodness, a man of culture, you love to see it. Fearow actually wins charge attack priority over Charizard. That is the attack stat of Fearow, my goodness. I go Blast Burn, it connects. In comes Gyarados, it's a race to the charge move, but they just cannot get there. Very cool team from my opponent. They had absolutely nightmare alignment, but they played extremely well. We pick up a slightly positive lead in the next match, leading Stunfisk into Altaria. I believe Stunfisk is actually able to win the evens against Altaria, which is very, very nice as the Stunfisk, because the Dragon Breath Fast Move Pressure hurts both of my back 2 Pokemon. It does a lot neutrally. Here, my opponent ends up baiting. They bait a Sky Attack into a Stunfisk and then save switch into Credilli. I do think that in an Empoleon meta, Credilli is a significantly less safe swap, but into my team, I don't have a hard check to Credilli, so I'm going to have to defeat it through energy management. The clocks are misaligned, which is a little bit uncomfortable. I do have enough for an Air Cutter plus a Blast Burn. I decide to full send, and my opponent reads me like a book. They get that shield call right. So I'm going to go down 2 shields. The switch clocks are misaligned, so when they switch into Altaria, I will fire off this Air Cutter. I know it's never going to do a lot of damage, but I needed it to burn my switch clock, because now I can send back in the Stunfisk, and Stunfisk is more than happy to absorb a Flamethrower, whereas Charizard does not want to take a Sky Attack. Ideally, I would love to Discharge and farm down. Discharge is an incredibly weak attack neutrally. The Discharge is going to land. Altaria falls short and does not get their move. So I have quite a bit of energy now on the Stunfisk. I'm hoping they bring back in Credilli, and they do bring back in the Credilli. That's very, very nice for me. Mud Bomb into Credilli is going to get them very low. I get to Mud Bomb number 2. They make a catch. Oh no, they have Carbink. And unfortunately, this is going to be a loss. Oh, that is absolutely dreadful for me, as I have a double flying backline, so a rock type like Carbink will just shut me down. Fearow does have Drill Run. They will put up a shield, and unfortunately, I cannot get to Drill Run number 2, so at this point, this game's over. They undercharge a power gem to get one extra rock throw that allows me to get a Drill Peck, but Drill Peck is not particularly threatening. In comes Stunfisk, and my opponent gets the catch onto Credilli. Even if I landed the Mud Bomb wouldn't have knocked out, but that catch is going to seal it as the Carbink is just too healthy. Man, that's a really unfortunate game to lose. Great lead in the next match, Stunfisk into Togekiss. My opponent safe switches into Shadow Marowak. Now, anytime I see a Shadow Marowak safe swap, I assume it's going to be double Mud Slap. And if it's double Mud Slap, then I don't need switch advantage. All I need is farm on Charizard. So I'm just going to let the Rock Slide go, farm down with Charizard, but they ended up Bone Club baiting, and that works out so nicely for me. Since they Bone Club baited, I'll throw 3, CMP tie them to a Drill Peck, and let them flip switch, because switch advantage does not help my opponent. Nothing can save my opponent from this Shadow Charizard. Charizard hits the field up 2 Embers and a Shield, and that 2 Ember advantage nullifies Togekiss's pacing advantage, as they are every 10 turns, I'm every 12 turns, but now suddenly, I can get to my second Blast Burn when they make their second Psyshock. So I will put up the shield as they go for the Psyshock, click Blast Burn as soon as I get it, winning charge attack priority, and this is going to be the end of Togekiss. Togekiss does get knocked out. In the back is Gastrodon, and Gastrodon will take big damage from this Shadow Blast Burn. Blast Burn is going to land massive damage onto Gastrodon, and now Stunfisk gets to the Mud Bomb, and that will secure the win. Mud Bomb lands, it doesn't KO, but it does enough. No move they have here can KO. Stunfisk is very, very bulky. They go for the Water Pulse. Stunfisk shakes off that damage. Thunder Shocks down one of its biggest counters to secure the win. Stunfisk into another Altaria in the next match. There were a lot of flyer leads today, and Stunfisk really did end up appreciating that. Even Altaria, where I'm only hitting for neutral damage, Stunfisk is really well positioned, as Stunfisk can either win alignment or just get the Altaria very low. There, I ended up playing to a CMP tie. Didn't necessarily mean to do that, but they're a one-turn user, so it just means that they ended up throwing on alignment, and unfortunately, by CMP tying, I wasn't able to get the punish of my sneak. So now, I'm just going to throw another Discharge. This will not KO. We saw from the previous game, Altaria can survive, but the moment they land a Flamethrower into me, I'm just going to snipe with Fearow. I want to try and get Fearow up energy and preserve just a little bit of that Stunfisk in case it's needed. So Fearow is up energy. Oh no, they have their own Stunfisk. This is bad. This is very, very bad. I let my Stunfisk get too low. Drill Run's gonna land, and that's big damage onto the Stunfisk. Stunfisk will get to connect with the Discharge. Discharge, will it be enough to knock out here? It is not. Fearow. Oh, I tried to commit to the Drill Run, and I did not get there. And we're probably gonna lose this game. I have to hope it's something like a Torterra in the back. Torterra is something that I could beat with Charizard. In comes Charizard. I actually get one turn Bring In, which I haven't gotten in days, which is very odd. Opponent sends in their final Pokemon. It's a Rollout Bibarel. You know what, trainer? Fair enough. Good game. Bad lead in the next match. Stunfisk into Como-O. I safe switch into Fearow. These pecks add up immediate damage, and I can outpace them and get to the Drill Peck. Drill Peck will be shielded. Como-O already into the yellow, so they have lost a lot of health. Now I can potentially deal with them with the Stunfisk if I need to. They send out Shadow Kanto Ninetales, making it to the Weather Ball, but Fearow wins charge attack priority. This will be massive super effective damage onto the Ninetales. My opponent says no as they put up a shield. Weather Ball does a lot of damage this season, and it will KO the Fearow, and now I can send back in the Stunfisk. Stunfisk just gonna go straight for the Mud Bomb. I want damage on this Pokemon. It's not an easy Ember farm down for Charizard, but once they're in the deep red, suddenly Charizard is very fine. Weather Ball will land. Opponent is gonna be pivoting out back into the Como-O as they end up saving the Ninetales. I will go for the Mud Bomb, hoping it's enough, but Como-O hangs on. This is enough for the clanging scales. I have to save the shield for Charizard. Charizard always wants a shield if possible. So now we're up a shield. In the back is a non-Shadow Empoleon. I believe non-Shadow Empoleon can barely hang on to a Blast Burn. Maybe I am incorrect in that assumption. I just have to watch for the switch. There it is. We're going to CMP tie that Ninetales, not letting them get any energy off. And now I boost. In comes Empoleon, and that's going to be a good game. Hopping into the final match, we've got one final flyer lead, Stunfisk into Dragonite. Here, I'm going to try and overfarm a little bit before I go for the discharge, but before I can trigger that move, they will go for Superpower. Superpower lands, that's big damage, in comes Sand Slash, and I shouldn't have thrown a Mud Bomb. This is just a waste of a move. I should have saved the energy, brought in Charizard, shielded once, and fully farmed down. My Charizard energy is still going to be annoying for the Dragonite, but I would have liked it if I played that mid-game matchup a lot cleaner. Back in comes the Dragonite, and because this is Shadow on Shadow, even an Air Cutter will probably knock them out. Air Cutter does get shielded, no boost on the Charizard, but because of this Ember pacing, every 8 turns, I am spamming out Air Cutter. They commit a shield looking for a farm down that they simply will not get. The Shadow Shiny Charizard picking up the knockout with Air Cutter in the back is Empoleon. In comes Fearow, and it's just cleanup duty. I don't believe that I survived this Hydro Cannon. Maybe I do, but to be safe, I will put up the shield and then get to go for the Drill Run. And this is going to be so long. Good night, Empoleon. Drill Run KOs, and we take the win. This team was an absolute blast to play. I can't remember if I mentioned it during the battles, but I think I went 12-3 with this team. Should have been 13-2, but one of the losses, it ended up being a loss due to lag in a game that I should have won. But overall, the team never went worse than 4-1. I do think that Stunfisk plus Shadow Charizard is immediately proving to be a very strong meta core. Now that I've tried Shadow Charizard with both fast moves, I've tried it with Ember and I've tried it with Dragon Breath, they definitely play in a different way. I think over time, especially as more people gravitate to running Empoleon, I could see Ember becoming the more commonly used moveset, because Ember does give you the ability to get actual fast move pressure into Empoleon, so if you need to farm something down, that's a lot easier, and additionally, every 8 turns to Air Cutter is just absurd. I know on Dragon Breath it's every 9 turns, but straight 8-turn pacing is just absolutely unreal. It is just ridiculous. Now, let's chat about the star of the show, Fearow. Fearow's a Pokemon they've tried to buff again and again and again, and every time they tried to buff it, it was still bad. They gave it Steel Wing when Steel Wing was good. At various points, it got Aerial Ace, it got Fly, it got like every flying move in the game, it feels like, and it still just was never good. However, finally, I think it's extremely viable anti-meta. Peck to Drill Peck is amazing pacing. We've seen this on a few different Pokemon, notably Shadow Murkrow. I almost said Shadow Fearow. Boy, I clearly need some coffee. We've seen it before on Shadow Murkrow, right? Where you're spamming out the flying damage every 10 turns. You get to hard-hitting moves very quickly, and it gets Drill Run, so it ends up being a pretty decent safe swap. As even if they switch in something that's a problem for flying types, like let's say an Electric, or they send in a Rock type like Bastiodon or a Steel, then you can hit it for super effective damage. So while I don't think Fearow is meta by any means, I think it's a really viable anti-meta safe swap. Its pacing can catch people off guard, and it has really nice coverage into Pokemon that you would want to bait out and steer away from Charizard. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is so sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.